recording me doing that?
I'm just starting because she can't make her mic. The mic is live. You have one for her. Do you have a mic for her?
Yeah.
Can you move faster? Go put it on her.
Over here, where I was standing.
Right at the point of the table.
The front of the table.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Right at the point. I'll move my iPad so you can have that side if you'd like.
It's okay. I'll just.
Is that her? Or is that me? That's.
In-home healthcare, so it could be an hour for a shower or 4 hours or 24 hours for living. We do companionship a lot, and then we do some for food.
My name is J Loren. I'm the Director of Nursing for Assisting Hands Home Care. We do home care, so we provide services for ADLs and IADLs. Also, we do Medicare Guide Program, which is free services if you have traditional A and B Medicare for dementia diagnoses, which is really cool. So they will give 72 hours of free care a year. Very cool. Anyways, but we work with the VA and long-term care insurance, and then also private.
I'm Jay Rodriguez. I run Breakwater Memory Care. We are a complete memory care community. We offer assistance with daily living and everything, but we're just memory care, memory cognitive issues, and Parkinson's.
I'm Aubrey Lopez with Fort Lewis Hospice, and this is my social worker, Vanda. I do marketing for them, but we are local, nurse-owned, and Granbury hospice services. So we provide personalized experiences for everyone, whatever they need. We do it for them, but we mean it too. If you were to ride in the airplane, we'll get you in the air concern.
You're wonderful. When I met this beautiful girl, she wasn't pregnant yet, and now she's got that cute watermelon there. Congratulations. And thank you for hosting us as well. They brought some of the food, so thank you so much. So later on, you get to speak some more about your company, or if you have any events coming up. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Miranda. Like she said, I'm the social worker for Four Pillars Hospice. Can't touch on it better than Audrey did. We really want to help out the community and do what we can to make everybody's last moments in that really tender period of time the best they can be. So.
Ed,
Thank you.
works for a fire sprinkler company, and we have used them. They're actually really wonderful, and
Okay.
they do reasonable pricing.
Yes, we are in Dallas, but we serve over DFW, and we noticed that there's new rules. They're changing the rules for these kind of facilities, and they want them to have 3 people on the side, and we give also finances if you want, if you need it. And I love what you do. I have my mother is 96, and I take care of her every Saturday and Sunday, and I also want to ask you about stuff. Maybe airplane we have in whatever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, again. Let's go ahead and pray. Actually, who would like to volunteer to pray? Go ahead, Jay.
Father God, thank you for bringing us all here today. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for every moment that God is here to be able to honor us and honoring other people and to serve our community. I pray that you bless this congregation, I suppose, and everything that we're doing here. And all this praise is name. Amen.
Amen. Now it's time to introduce our speaker. Crowds from 14 to 40,000. He's an international leadership speaker, trainer, and coach, author of Learn to Roar Leadership, Attitude Hack, Live a More Excellent Life, 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior, 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, founding partner of the John Maxwell team, Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist, Great American Speak Off semi-finalist, founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, thatguyrocks.com, and StorypowerAcademy.com, award-winning hosts of Leading Leaders podcast, Storypower TV, Transforming Grace TV. It's really better with this. Transforming Grace TV, Lead the Narrative TV. His programs can be enjoyed on OBBM TV Network, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, and more. Lauren and Karen have been married over 30 years. Lauren says his greatest accomplishment is to be a proud father of 4 and puppy to 13 grandchildren. Wow. Ages 18 months and 8 to 18 years. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Loren Norris. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, Loren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we walked out of the chapel. We were standing on the front steps overlooking the lake. And she turns to me and she says those 4 words that make every man tremble. We need to talk. That's worse than turn your head and cough. And I just knew, because I knew my past, that at the end of the day when we had that talk, that she was going to say, I'm done, I'm out, it's over, I could do so much better than you. We were 10 years into our marriage at that point, and I had sabotaged every relationship I had ever had. I came into our marriage with an addiction to pornography. And the first 10 years of our marriage, I made an absolute mess. This was the moment I knew it was going to be over. I waited all day. The kids went off to do their thing at Pine Cove Camp, and the 2 of us sat down at the end of the bed, and she took my hand in hers, and she looked me right in the eye, and she said, when you say to me that you're fat and unlovable, you're asking me to believe a lie. I've forgiven everything that you've done, and I love you just like you are. And I need you to see you the way I do. If she hadn't said those words, I probably would have never come home that night. I would have found a way to end it and just be finished. Instead, those words saved my life. Those words saved our marriage. And last September, Labor Day weekend, was 31 years of marriage. I attribute all that to her. because all I'm doing is following instructions. How many of you hear a story like that and you think, wow, I know more about you than I did 30 seconds ago? Would you agree that's true? How many of you would hear a story like that and think, there are some things in your story that I resonate with? There's some things in your story that I realize if I knew more about you, I could probably glean something from you. So one of the things we've recognized with Storypower is that it's not just the ability to tell a story, but there's something in that story. It's not easy to change our own story, right? Sometimes what we have to be willing to do is change someone else's story. Transformation actually begins in the transformation of somebody else's story. What she did that day wasn't just save my life, save our marriage. She rewrote the who that I am. Oftentimes we find ourselves in a place as leaders, as communicators, that the expectation to help is kind of set there, but it's vague. We don't know exactly what we're supposed to do. And so we try to coach, advise, educate, train. And leadership is really more about influence. It's about walking alongside somebody and going, I understand what you're going through, I feel what you're going through. And so we have to learn to do repetitively what helps other people. That's the field that you're in. You're in the business of helping people a lot of times who can't help themselves at all. There's nothing they can do about it. But then you're also in the field of helping people who are helping those who are helping, right? You're walking alongside people who say, I'm laying down my life. I believe I heard you say earlier, I'm taking care of someone who cannot take care of themselves. But that's not just a job of taking care of them, because suddenly you got to take care of you too. And suddenly that becomes a burden on the caregiver that goes even further. Stories, believe it or not, are an incredible way to lead, because I don't have to tell you everything you're supposed to know. I can tell you where I've been. And your ability to glean from that becomes very powerful. In fact, how many of you have been told by somebody to do something, you're like, no, I'm not doing it? So raise your hand if that's ever been true, right? And the reason you don't want to do it is because they told you to, right? If you've ever been a teenager or ever raised one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I hadn't told them to do that or not to do that, it would have been no issue. They would have eventually figured it out. But the fact that I told them changes everything, right? So what if you could just influence them without actually giving them direct instruction? The Storypower method is really a 4-step process. And when I say 4 steps, that's kind of the high-level view. So the first step is story crafting. And what we find is that when you get out there and start working on stories, a lot of people want to tell the whole story, right? You've heard somebody and then you're kind of following the path of their entire life, and it's like watching a moth in the wind, and you're like, where is it going next? What if I could teach you a method to take an incident, a moment in your life? I mean, we've been married 31 years. How many times do you think we've had, we need to talk? I promise you it's been more than once. But what if we could take that moment, that incident, and boil it down to only what matters right now, the lesson we want to transfer? And then what if we could stack several of those together where you hear that story and you're like, okay, so I resonate with that moment, but this one kind of, I'm not sure I get it yet. We can go to the next level. That's where we start to craft the story. Because I can tell you my story, but it's a different thing to tell you what happened to me versus craft that story in such a way that I know that it's relevant to you, that it resonates with you, that it moves you emotionally. And so we have to select the right story, we have to qualify that story, and then we have to craft that story. So story crafting is step number 2. The stagecraft is really when we take that story and we tell it to somebody and their eyes glaze over, like talking to a teenager. You say something and they go, whatever, right? If you've ever been in front of a crowd, a sales pitch, dealing with a family, dealing with a crisis, and you realize they've unplugged, they're not paying any attention at all. They have already checked out. Well, that's a problem. How do you fix that? Well, it's not necessarily that you got to do something to that customer or that person that you're talking to. What it means is that the story you've chosen to tell them wasn't crafted for the audience in front of you. It also means you've got to move emotionally and figure out how do I connect with them differently. So stagecraft is about taking that story that's a qualified story that's crafted well, and now how do I deliver it? Anybody ever seen somebody deliver and they're so boring, you're like, are you done? Please be done. because everything sounds exactly monotone. They're like the Visine commercial, right? You're like, please make it over. I remember hearing a guy that walked in the room and he said, I have a master's degree. I teach at XYZ University in communication. I'm a speech pathologist. I do all of these things. And he said, I'm going to tell you a story before I start my talk. It has nothing to do with my talk, but I think it's a great story. 9 minutes later, he finishes his story. And the crowd was about as excited as you are right now. They were like, okay, he's done. Right? No. He was just done with the story part. He went on for another 45 minutes. But he did tell us, this story has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's just something I thought fascinating. Apparently you didn't, right? Why would you use a story like that? So now that we got storycraft, we got stagecraft, now we got to be able to connect. So that connection is first starting, as you all do, with the audience, right? How many of you just bring somebody in, put them through the process, and you're like, I don't care if they're immobile, if they're hard of seeing or hard of hearing, or they have high blood pressure, or they have heart disease, or they have diabetes. I'm not concerned about that. Do they have money? Do they show up? None of you do that, right? You're all concerned about what is the need of the customer, what is it that's important to them, and better, what's important to their family. I mean, one of the most heartbreaking things in your industry is the number of people that just kind of get dumped off like a puppy on the side of the road. The parents are left out to retire, if you will, left out to pasture. Connecting with that audience means understanding what are their pains, what are their emotional sets, what is important to them, how do we fix it, what goes next. When we talk about the connection, we talk about the psychology of story, because there are things in a story that you tell that when you tell them, they trigger people. They hurt feelings. They bring up old memories. They re-traumatize. And if you're careless, you tell stories that matter to you, but they hurt other people. We want to avoid that. And then finally, the narrative. And this is a really big challenge for a lot of people, because when I say narrative, their eyes kind of roll back in their head and they're like, well, what do you mean by narrative? Let me summarize it in a really quick question. Who do you help? How do you help them? Well, ultimately you help the patient, but you also help the family. And part of that navigation is, are they in the right place? Are they getting the right care? Can the family have access to help them, to relate to them, to love on them? And are they going to get this funded in the right way? And you all know better than I do, there are times you just write the wrong thing on the paperwork and it all falls apart. You put the wrong name, you put the wrong diagnosis, you put the wrong medical order, and it's a mess. When you look at the narrative and you ask, who do I help and how? The first question is, who's my customer? Is it the patient? Is it the family? Is it the medical board? Is it the insurance company? And the answer for you is yes. It's all of them. Now the question is, how do I communicate with them? Something that I believe very firmly is that a well-crafted story has the ability to reach into places that a regular story wouldn't. Now, of these 4 steps, the one that's the hardest, the intention, is the narrative. Meaning you've got to know where you're going with this before you get going, or it doesn't matter. But the one that demands the most attention is the story crafting. If you don't take time to dig into what is the story that I'm telling and why, then the story that you tell will fall flat. And like I said, could traumatize people. There are 4 really basic parts to the story. I'm going to talk about these really fast, and then I'm going to get out of your way and let you carry on with your meeting. The first one is credential. Well, what is credential? How many of you have credentials? Raise your hand if you have credentials. You have an RN, you have an MD, you've done something where advanced education was a very important part of what you do. Credentials. Now, how many of you know somebody who has credentials and 0 street smarts? You've met those people, right? You're like, Doctor what? You're a doctor. No joke. I had a guy, I was emceeing a wedding many, many years ago, and I walked up to the father of the bride and I asked the question, so when it's time for you to dance with your daughter, should I call you Dad? And he stoically looked away from me the entire time. And I tapped his shoulder and I tried to address, and nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm like, do you want me to call you Mr. Snow? Do you want me to call you the father of the bride? What do you want me to call you? He ignored me the entire time. Finally, his daughter walks up. She said, everything okay? I said, I'm not sure how to address him when it's time to dance. And while she's standing in front of me, he turns to me, hands on his hip, and he says, it's Dr. Snow. And his daughter turns and goes, Dad, you have a PhD in English Lit. Is it a credential? Well, yeah, but I mean, Do we have to call you Dr. Snow at the wedding? I don't know. So credential is that thing that you've actually earned. Next is your credibility. And that means you didn't just learn it. And we can jump past this, Karen, to the next set where we just have one on the page. So this is the, keep going, one more. There we go. Credential, your universally recognized accomplishments like a degree, a certification, an official endorsement. Next is your credibility. Now this one's not really complicated. It's, have you actually done what you claim you were trained to do, right? I know a lot of people who have degrees in psychology who have never practiced in the field of psychology. Anybody else know somebody who's done that? They get the degree in psychology because they came from a bad background or a rough life or whatever else, and they want to move on with life, and they need some help, and they want to be able to help people and get past the trauma of their own life, but they don't really want to practice in that field. So what is credibility? Sometimes credibility looks like, I'm serving in an area where I have competence and I have experience, but it's not what I went to school for. Anybody doing that right now? Serving, you're like, I got this degree, but that's not what I do. Go ahead, Karen. So the purpose of the story is to articulate people like us do things like this. It's a demonstration of the experience. You know, you might say, for an example, I'll give you a great example. My mother had both of her knees and both of her hips replaced because she was a school teacher. She was constantly moving. Then she began to get dementia. She was very fast. In fact, she was faster than both of my sisters at home after I moved out of the house. She would wander out the front door and they would find her down the street talking to neighbors who had no idea who she was, but neither of my sisters could catch her or keep up with her. And so as time went on, her mobility was the thing that kept her alive and kept her going, but she couldn't tell you her name to save her life. But she wanted to stay at home. She never wanted to be in a home. Well, then my sister had a problem with her husband. She had to travel with him to another place, 6 hours away. And while she was gone, she said, I'm going to put her just for the day in, what do they call that care, just for the day?
Respite.
The respite for the day. So she took her and dropped her off at the local home. They called her about 2 hours later, and they're like, she will not stay in bed. She's like, no, her mobility is the only thing that keeps her going. And they're like, well, we need to sedate her. She said, you can't sedate her. She already has really bad dementia. You can't do that to her. And they're like, we're going to sedate her. She's like, no, you cannot sedate her. You do not have permission to do that. They called her back 3 hours later, and they said, she's fallen and broken her hip. Really, she just had them replaced. I mean, she's very mobile. She's very agile. Well, we think she's broken her hip. It'll be 5 hours before we can get an x-ray. 2 in the morning, they did an x-ray. Well, she's already got dementia. She's already got all the other complications of type 2 diabetes. They broke the hip, and guess what the teacher's pension said? We're not doing surgery for that. She spent the next year and a half in a bed. And then she went home permanently. Why? Because somebody didn't want to have to chase her, right? And so when you're not careful, you've got that story that says, we didn't do the right thing, but we did what we wanted to do or what we know. That's not what anybody wants to hear for their parent. My sister cried the entire 6 hours coming home knowing when I get here, I now have 2 of them in a hospital bed. Her husband passed before my mother did. My mother stayed another year, almost a year and a half, bedridden in her home because someone didn't want to chase her around the building. That's not a good story, but it's a true story. So my credibility is, I don't have any credentials in your field, but I have a story that's true, that's heart-wrenching. And when you understand stories like that and how they connect with other people, people can kind of step into your world and you can step into theirs. Next one. Not just a certificate, but the stories which demonstrate the mastery of the thing your diploma says. Now, there are going to be times that you're practicing in a field, you're doing the work that doesn't look anything like your diploma, like having a degree in psychology and actually performing somewhere else. Next one. Context. If I stood here and told you a story about auto mechanics, how many of you would care? Maybe a couple of you, right? If you're a hot rod fiend or you have an old classic car or something, but otherwise you're like, yeah, wrong audience, wrong place, wrong time. And so the context of the story, there are a lot of people who tell a story for the sake of telling a story. They think, well, if I'm a good speaker, I tell a story. What story? Is it relevant to the people in front of you, or is it just fascinating to you? Is it fun to tell? Is that why you tell it? Or are you talking about your whole life story for no reason? So don't tell a story just for the sake of telling a story. Context of the story means I know that what I'm about to tell you is relevant to you. It matters to you. All right, next one. Somebody's phone is absolutely blowing up. Hope it doesn't catch fire. Content. The good story should be told more than once because it resonates with people. How many of you know when it comes to marketing and advertising, anything that you say has got to be heard 7 times before anybody remembers it? Yeah. So you go out there and say, our company does X, and then you never say it again, and people go, I can't remember what it is that you do. I spent 10 years in corporate marketing at Verizon. I sold advertising for years prior to that and a little bit after that. And that process of getting in front of people and saying it again and again matters. So when you tell the story, how many of you have ever been to a concert for Journey? How many of you like Journey? What's the #1 song for Journey? Don't Stop Believing. And if you paid to go see a concert by Journey and they didn't sing that song, how would you feel? Cheated, ripped off, right? Why didn't I get that? And sometimes your best stories, the connection that you have, people bring others to hear you talk about what you do in your business, talk about how you serve your clients, talk about how you've helped their life get better, and they expect, hey, I want you to meet Judith. And then Judith says something entirely different. I'm like, but I wanted them to meet you because you do this Serenity group. This is so awesome. I want everybody to know about this. In fact, I met a guy last night. I got his card just so I could give it to you. And sincerely, it's in my pocket. All right. How do you connect people? Well, by the thing that's familiar. So when you tell that story, you got to tell it more than once. But you also have to understand it adds to the mission. It adds to the narrative. It adds to the listener. People begin to get in the habit of hearing that story. They're like, oh, I know who you are. I know what to expect of you. Here in our little hometown, just about any meeting that I go to, people go, he's going to tell a story. And part of the craft of what I do is to tell a story because it's both marketing and advertising, and it moves people. But the intent is to get them in here in the studio, to get them into the classes and courses so that I can teach them to tell better stories, because then the work that they do helps other people. Next one. I should have my own clicker over here, huh? So here's the truth. This is a powerful formula. Same story in front of a different audience has an entirely different impact. Quick illustration of that. If I am telling you about how to ride a bicycle and I'm telling a 5-year-old who's never been on a bicycle, I don't want to tell her how terrified I was when my aunt let go of the seat. When I thought I didn't have balance yet, I was terrified. And so I've got this early childhood memory of trauma of people are going to let go of me when I'm not ready. I'm going to get abandoned. They're going to walk out. I'm going to be rejected. Why would I start something new when they're going to let go of me way before I'm ready? I'm not going to tell the 5-year-old that, but I'm certainly going to tell my aunt that. Listen, here's what happened when I was learning to ride a bicycle. And we've got to be able to tell that same story from a different perspective when the audience changes. So you're going to get completely different results. Next. And like any marketing or advertising, it's got to be 7 times. One more slide. Is that right? Yes. So content, nope, we went too far. Yeah, no, I guess I was in the right place. Context is the right audience, content is the right story. And so I was in Brazil, and I was called to come to Brazil by a missions group that does business as a mission. And so what we were asked to do was come and train business leaders on how to put biblical principles into their leadership training. And so because I'm a certified John Maxwell coach, they said, we want you to come and do some of this training, do some leadership training, and then we're going to go out and visit these various businesses. And so day 1 of leadership training, my translator and I, he was pretty. He was like 6'3", perfectly fit, beautiful chiseled features, Brazilian with the perfect accent, the whole thing. But he also went to school in England at Oxford, and so he had this beautiful British brogue as well as the Brazilian accent. And so we're standing at the front, frumpy little fat little white little me and pretty boy. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some push-ups because I forgot to go to the gym first. And so we both drop down on the floor. We're doing push-ups. I'm counting, and we're both doing them together. We get to about 6, and I prop myself up on my elbow, and I keep counting. And he's still doing push-ups. And people are starting to get a little frustrated. By the time we got to about 15, he's still doing push-ups and I'm just grinning. People are out of their chairs like, what is going on over there? And then they start yelling at him in Portuguese. He's not doing the push-ups. You're the only one doing the work. When he stands up, we high-five each other because we planned that. And then I turned to the entire crowd and I said, what you need to understand is if you want to grow, you can't have somebody else doing your push-ups. You have to do the hard work of leadership all on your own. All right. There's something buried in that story that you've just heard me teach about. Content, context, credential, certified John Maxwell coach. That's why they asked me to come speak on leadership in an international conference. And credibility. I've been there. I've done that. All right, so that story took 90 seconds. How many of you can craft a story that would take 90 seconds to 2 minutes that people would say, I'm an RN, I've been in this business for 15 years. That's one thing to say that like a resume statement. But to say this is what qualifies me to do what I do, that's a whole different thing, right? This is how I've applied what I've learned, that's a whole different thing. When that brings in other people and there's a little bit of humor or a little bit of emotion, then suddenly people go, I feel myself like I'm part of that story. Like I could have been there laughing as well, or I could have been there going, hey, get him off the floor. Why are you doing push-ups while he's counting? That's silly. All right, bonus slide. If you were taking pictures or taking notes, I would tell you, I'm just going to give these 4 really fast, Karen, so you can fill the whole screen. Sticky stories are those stories that are tied to a current event, right? So if there's something going on in the news and you've got a story that's relevant to your life, relevant to your customers, and you've got some experience with it, you tell that story, and people keep it at the top of their mind because it just happened to them too. The timeless stories are those stories that are eternally true. Has anybody ever had that conversation that starts with, we need to talk? Yeah. You know exactly how that feels, right? Now, how that conversation went after that doesn't matter as much as going, yes, I've been there, I know what it feels like, I get it. That's a timeless story. It's forever true, and it's true for everyone. Impactful stories provoke personal passions, emotional resonance. People go, I know what that feels like. I felt that same way myself. And then the opinionated stories. These are the tough ones. But when you express your opinions and you expose your core values, here's what happens. You begin to pick perfect people. I'm going to close with this story. I was setting up an event. We're putting all the tables and chairs together, setting up all the cameras at another venue. And my phone rings. And I'm like, pick it up. I don't recognize the number. So I silence it. I put it back in the holster. And I go back to what I'm doing. It's not 3 minutes later. It's ringing again. I pick it up. It's the same number. I'm thinking, oh, spam. I'm about to yell at these people. I hate when I just get the same number calling again and again. So by the 3rd time, I pick up the phone and I'm like, yes. And I'm waiting for that 3-second dial tone before the auto dialer picks up and there's a human on the other side. And the person on the other end goes, is this J Loren Norris? All right. Maybe you hadn't noticed, but J is my first initial for James. In the speaking world, everybody knows me as J Loren Norris. In the political world, I have one group of people who call me Jim and another who call me James. And if you call me and go, hey, is this Jim? I know not only who referred you, but I know what your mindset is. I know what audience you came from just by that question. You ask for James, I know that too. That's a different group of people. When you ask for J Loren, I know you know me from the speaking world. And you ask for Loren, you probably have known me since I was 10. So she says, is this J Loren Norris? I said, it is. She said, I need to know if you can help me with this speech. I said, I'm in the middle of setting up for an event. Can I call you back? She said, no, I need to know if you can help me. I'm like, well, I'm sure I can, but can I schedule a time? She said, just tell me if you can help me or not. I'm like, fine. What's so difficult about your speech? She said, I'm speaking in 2 months in front of the Supreme Court. Oh, that's a pretty tall task. I have 3 minutes. Okay, that's a really tall task. If you've ever heard Winston Churchill, he said, if I got an hour to speak, I'm ready to go. If I got 20 minutes to speak, give me a couple of weeks to get ready. If I've got 5 minutes to speak, give me a month to get ready because I got to figure out what to whittle out of there. If you've ever written a book, the editing is the hardest part, right? She said, I got 3 minutes to speak in front of the Supreme Court. I said, great, what are you talking about? Ready for this? Abortion. Yikes. Can we find anything more polarizing that we've got to cram a life of conversation into 3 minutes? And those are high stakes. We did. And she did it. And then she got a call and said, we want you to deliver 3 minutes in front of the United Nations. And she did. And we did it. Different speech. And right now, she's on the schedule for 2 more sessions before her live presentation where she's following Tim Tebow's mother speaking on abortion at a pro-life fundraiser. Here's the twist. She's had 3. She's had 3 abortions. And her work is helping women who made that choice and are now trying to get their life straight on the other side of that. And so she speaks both to people who are trying to keep it from happening and people who have already been through that process. So that's a powerful thing. What do I have to do with any of that? Well, my ability is to look at these stories and go, which ones are sticky? Which ones are timeless? Now, did I tell you what my position is on that topic? You have no idea, right? I mean, you can make some assumptions. If I hadn't told you she's had 3, you might make some assumptions about her, right? The power of being able to tell opinionated stories is that they magnetize people. When you tell those stories and you express your opinion, people either lean in and go, my kind of guy, my kind of gal, or they go, yeah, we can't do business together. And believe it or not, the sooner you do that in a sales relationship, the better off you are. Because there's nothing worse than closing the deal and not being able to deliver on it. We do have a course coming up. If you're interested, it's a really simple roadmap. It's 6 weeks. We define your narrative. We go through the story mining process and find the raw materials, craft remarkable stories, build in the know, like, and trust, connect with people, and then your story power is your superpower. The problem with a great story is your character's your kryptonite. How many of you know somebody who tells a great story but they don't live up behind it? There's a lot of them out there. Next one, I think this is the last one. It looks like a pre-call video lesson. So there's a 30-minute lesson, there's an exercise, there's homework. You do it yourself. Then we jump on a call together. It's a guided coaching call. The last one we had about 24 people. And then after that, we do participant results, and that is we get on a call for 2 hours and we coach the entire group on that process. If that's something that you're interested in, we'd love to serve you with that. But thank you for your time today. Thanks for letting me be a part of, and she left, part of your meeting. That's the QR code if you're interested in jumping in that. And we'd love to have you be a part of that. Do you have any questions before I step out?
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful topic, and what a great speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're gonna do
The next activity would be so much fun because I'm gonna need your business cards here because we have a lot of gifts to give away. If you come to the Serenity Senior Networking, Ed, what does that mean? Egg rolls, mostly.
Oh, yeah.
Not every single
Oh,
time.
yeah, egg rolls.
But also a lot of door prizes. You could use just a piece of paper.
My friend G got one business card.
Oh, did you already?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and while we're doing that, of course, get some more food because there's a lot of food. Thank you so much again for 4 Pillars and St. John's. By the way, I don't even think I've introduced myself. My name is Judith, and St. John's has been in the business for 23 years. I always kid that I started when I was 10 years old. We're called St. John's because my father was a John. He passed when he was 57. Some of you have probably heard that. So I'm almost ready to retire. No. More years. Everybody, did you guys put your, so I'm an RN and I have St. John's and First Response Home Health Services. Yes. So you guys could introduce yourselves again or promote your business, or if you have any events coming up. Let's do that. Any events coming up? Jay?
No events coming up on the 10th of March. April 3rd, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony. So we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony at our community.
Is that with the Granbury Chamber?
Yep.
So that's like your grand opening?
We're opening up the other side, so it was closed for construction and other reasons for quite a while, and we got everything settled. All the rooms are clean and ready to go, so we're opening up that side.
April 3rd.
April 3rd. So,
All right, congratulations.
Other than that, no, not really a whole lot. If you guys want to do events with my community, if you want to do like events with my residents, give me your business cards. I'll send you up to our activity director, and we'll go.
Or do you want to host us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to host you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. 4 Pillars, since you are our host.
I don't have any events coming up. Today?
How about your baby shower?
I don't really have
volunteer coordinator. So if anyone is interested in volunteering with us with hospice, whether it's administrative or working with our patients, please let me know if you know anyone. And I'm also trying to, as a social worker, I'm trying to compile a list of resources in our community so that we can all help each other out in Granbury. So if you know of anything and you have anything like that, or you want to be part of our kind of like referral process, please let me know so that we can network and get to know each other better.
All right, very good. Ed, do you have anything else?
No, I'm ready to help you, and I want to take some business cards, so maybe call you back.
All right, very good. Anything else? Would you like to?
True Hearts and Hands Hospice offers boutique services for the first 6 months that someone's on service with us. And by boutique services, that could mean that we send like a licensed hairdresser out to do their hair at home or at the facility. It could be a manicure, a pedicure, it could be tips, treats, nothing but cakes, Chick-fil-A, really whatever they want within reason. I mean, obviously I can't send them to Bali, but you know. But anything within reason. We're small, so there's no corporate hoops that we have to go through. It's just pretty much I go to the owner and they say, go for it. So.
Life is good.
Yes.
That's how I am. My mom is the owner, so I'm like, Mom, please, we gotta do this, and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natalie?
Well,
She's starting
I mean,
something exciting.
Yeah, I'm starting something new. I got burnt out clinically wise. Be careful, burnout is a real deal, and when it really hits you, it makes. I was sick.
I used to work with her. She's an RN, but then now a nurse practitioner, right?
Yeah, yeah. I went, during COVID, I decided to go. That was fun. But I would love, you know, a lot of my clients will have parents, of course, and they will need services. So I'm happy to be here, and you know, I'll get the cards, and if anyone needs, I know my dad definitely needs something right now. So yeah.
But your business will be opening in. You said that you
Well,
you have.
there's so many rules in Texas. It's tough. You got to find a medical director. That's even harder because there was a place that did the wrong thing and they killed a lady in Texas, and ever since then, it was an IV place, and they had a MA running it without any oversight, and she killed the lady. It was a young lady that had kids, and so that just put a real twist and made it even harder. But I'm hopefully going to be in Glenrose. Yeah, I'm all about the natural looking and just helping to build collagen, keeping your skin healthy. That's mainly what I like. Is that kind of stuff. Yeah.
By the way, if you want a tour, my care home here in Granbury, after after here, because I'm actually going over there. So whoever wants a tour, go with me. Yeah, it's really a beautiful. All right. Okay. So now let's do this. Who wants to draw? You did. I'm gonna let you draw.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Not mine.
Oh, that's me.
That's her.
Jamie.
Hey, Jamie. All right, Jamie.
Oh, I saw the back of it.
Oh, okay. All right, Jamie. Come on, Jamie.
Okay. My mom is
If I'll pick it, I
My
have to
nurses,
pick
I have nurses in our
Oh, that's not.
This is from St. John's.
Happy
Valentine's. Thank you.
They use that a lot for hair restoration.
All right, the next one is rehab. Who's from rehab? How do you say your name? Ivan? Ivan. Come on, Ivan. It's you. Come on, Ivan.
Thank you.
So you're the owner of like a rehab agency.
Yes, I'm actually contracted with you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, first response. So I know Joey.
Okay, very good. Yeah, there you go. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's probably non-medical. And you're probably paying.
All right, the next one is. Oh, so yours is called Sterling Aesthetic and Wellness.
Yeah, Sterling's my nephew. I adore him, and I just thought that fit. So
Very
you know,
good.
That's
Congratulations.
my little man.
Miss Natalie Barbie NP. She used to be an RN, now she's an NP. Very
Always an
good.
RN.
Always an RN.
You gotta
That's
have
true.
an RN.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know?
That's true. That's true. Are you leaving?
No.
Okay. Can I pick this?
And if they're
All right, congratulations. Let's take some more. Here, some more pillars.
yeah.
I bet your mother is so excited.
Es Pantía de
I pick myself.
Are we gonna let her? She picked herself. Good, right? Are you sure? Yes. Grab your names right there.
Yeah, we'll just pick her.
There's more.
Would you like to pick?
She does. We'll have all the musicians now do her home, and you kind of.
Who is it?
Options.
Options! You won! Let's get a prize. Who wants to keep options card? Would you like to keep options card? Okay, I think we only have one more after this. One more. Who wants to pick? Who wants to pick? Natalie, would you like to pick?
Mine.
Oh, I saw you grab my card.
Oh, is it yours?
Is that yours?
Go, no.
Who is it? Let me see. It is, Bridgewater Memory Care. There you go. There's Bridgewater. One last. Okay. That one is actually from, this one's actually from all of these.
Oh.
Yeah. Because they also host us.
Yeah, I know Autumn Leaves.
Yes. They've hosted us at least twice.
Heck yeah. This is exactly what I needed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So thank you guys again. So in, let me see, March, we'll be at Garden Terrace. You should be able to go. It's in
Yes.
Fort Worth.
Yes.
Who could go to Fort
I
Worth?
can make it there. That's
Good,
close.
good. Garden Terrace in Fort
I'm in
Worth.
Fort Worth, yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully I should have it done by then, so.
For next month,
Yeah.
in March,
Yeah.
I believe it's March 19th or 21st, March 19th. It's every third Thursday. Third Thursday at 1 p.m. We send the
I'm using it too,
invitation
right? Watching it.
to,
What's up?
no
This is
email
nice to meet you and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
It's actually a link. How did you get the invitation from Suzanne?
From Gabriella. That's my executive.
How did you get the invitation? Email or and
We're on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. Four Pillars Hospital.
yeah, good. All right, thank you guys again so much. Congratulations to the ones who won.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you for coming. March, okay? March again.
You will be on Facebook Messenger?
Yes. Thank you again. J Loren, thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you.
I'm awesome.
What a great speaker.
No. But if you ever run into anyone or run into PR,
Yes, thank you. Feel free to get some. You didn't put your business card here, so you didn't win. Thank you.
Yeah, use me as a resource if you have any interest in hospice. Hit me up. We're always looking for PRNs.
Yeah, a few times.
And it's a fun position to be in.
Love you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
I don't like any coffee.
Pero speech pathologist.
But come by, give us a basic something that we write on
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Ivana. Thank you. I was gonna let you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I was also gonna let you.
What hospice groups do y'all have in your memory care?
We have several right now. We have Concho, but no spot. I can't even think right now. But
Miss Karen?
Big old
Okay.
suitcase.
I'll have to pop by and check out your facility.
Oh, whoever wants to go with me.
I'm constantly
I keep this one in my bag.
Oh, when I go in places, but my big bag.
I'm out of the Fort Worth area.
yeah. We have a few locations for
You do? Okay, good to
Yeah,
know.
no worries. Sige, ingat.
No.
Thank you. Living memory care.
Yes.
And,
I was just gonna get the address. So then we
I'll send you
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I can,
Oh, that would be great.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard for family members to come down from Fort Worth to kind of get on Fort Worth, you know, it's,
you said you were
they-
gonna